Democrats were adamant about universal mail-in voting. Nancy Pelosi was trying to push it through in this bill, the HEROES Act. Donald Trump said we're not going to have any of that. Universal mail-in voting is bad. Some states, like New Jersey, the state where I live, enacted an executive order through the governor mandating mail-in voting. And this backfired, and the backfire is going from bad to worse. Not only is all of the old data saying the margin of failure for mail-in ballots is very high, they're also saying in this current cycle, the current data we have, it's very high. And now the Democrats have lost a Supreme Court challenge. Or I should say, the Supreme Court has issued a ruling. If ballots are not received by Election Day in Wisconsin, they will not count. And now Democrats are frantically trying to tell everybody, no, don't mail it in. Don't mail your mail-in ballot. Physically bring your mail-in ballot to the polling location or drop box, because it might not make it on time, or it may get, unfortunately, discarded. Now, look, whether or not left or right's going to win, I want everyone's vote to be counted. But the weird thing we're seeing from all of this is that the Democrats are the ones who demanded it. And no matter how many times I warned or Trump warned or the media warned a decade ago, it would lead to problems and a major disadvantage, the Democrats just pushed through saying we have to do it. I guess it's fair to say they are scared of COVID much more than Republicans are. And maybe the Democrats felt they had no choice. Well, now it's going to come back to haunt them. Democrats are supposed to have the mail-in voter advantage, but in key states like Wisconsin and Michigan, Republicans actually have the advantage in mail-in voter requests, which seems to fly in the face of everything we've heard because it's actually the Republicans who are against it. Could it be that there's not that many people who want to mail-in vote, or Republicans are the ones who are going to vote by mail-in? Thus, the challenge to the Supreme Court is actually bad for Republicans? Yeah, it actually might be the case. But I'll tell you, considering Joe Biden now is apparently a 17-point lead, I mean, the polls are ridiculous. And the latest forecast from The Economist has Donald Trump with a 3% chance to win. I'll tell you guys, look, I don't know if Trump's going to win. My gut kind of says Trump. I just don't know. And I think it would be kind of stupid for me to pretend like I did or had a strong feeling one way or the other. The pollsters got everything wrong. And they did. It was all wrong. Now, the scale to which it was wrong is in dispute. Was it wildly incorrect, or was it only a little bit incorrect? Well, their forecasts were horrifyingly wrong. But Trump did narrowly win in some key areas. We do have accusations of voter fraud. New stories from Project Veritas. It could just be that a whole bunch of people who didn't vote in 2016 come out, overwhelm the ballots, and we end up with Joe Biden 2020. It's entirely possible. Or there could be something else in play that people don't see and don't realize, which has changed people's votes to Donald Trump. Like I mentioned several times, you got Johnny Rotten, the punk rock legend. He voted for Clinton in 2016. He's voting for Trump now. I didn't vote in 2016. I already voted for Trump. So it remains to be seen. But assuming the votes come in properly, then the advantage in some key states is Trump. How could the polling say that Trump is down nearly 20 points when mail-in voter registration for Republicans is above Democrats? And according to voter data in Florida, Trump has an advantage based on 2016. They're doing better now for the same time period. I guess we could only wait and see. But let me read you the news and we'll see what's going on with the Democrats freaking out as they lose a Supreme Court ruling. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. I got a P.O. box if you want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video just to get the word out. I think there are some stories I'll do where I'm like, this is the craziest story. You know, yesterday with the Project Veritas thing. Sometimes I'm like, please share this. It's very important. Or the Hunter Biden thing. In this instance, I think the story is very important, but share it if you think it's important. You think I do a good job. It helps support the channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's read from Fox News. Wisconsin Democrats urge voters to forego mail-in ballots after Supreme Court ruling. Ballots must be received by Election Day or they will not count. The party is urging voters who have yet to return their ballots to use secure drop box locations or to return them at the county clerk's office rather than relying on the mail, as first reported by the New York Times on Tuesday. About 1.4 million ballots have been returned out of more than 1.7 that were sent, according to the latest state data. That means that there are more than 360,000 voters who the state is trying to contact about the ruling and updated deadline. And I'll say this too. Democrat or Republican, everybody should hand in their votes in person. Now, Republicans weren't the ones screaming about getting mail-in voting, so that's why I say Democrats, but everyone should. I went and brought my ballot in person. I didn't put it in a mailbox. I put it in a ballot secure drop box location. I think that's the smart play. A spokesperson for the Wisconsin Democratic Party did not return Fox News' request for comment. However, on Twitter, the chair of the state's Democratic Party said the group is spreading the word across as many mediums as possible, urging people to mail ballots as soon as possible or to make plans to ensure their votes are counted. And I agree. Everybody should have their vote counted. Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever, Green Party, your vote counts. It should be done properly. Unlike other states, Wisconsin does not report the party affiliation of voters who requested mail-in ballots. However, organizers are likely relying on data from other states, which show more Democrats than Republicans are likely to vote by mail. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday against an extension of time for counting mail-in ballots. Democrats in the state had been pushing for allowing ballots that were received within 6 days of Election Day to be counted, so long as they were postmarked by Election Day. Republicans had argued against the need for an extension. Wisconsin is one of several key battleground states in 2020. In 2016, Trump won by a margin of less than 1%. I want y'all to think about that. Less than 1%. Democrats are getting the message. Eric Holder, I showed you this the other day, but I want to bring it up. It's important context. It's too late to use the mails. Given Supreme Court rulings, I urge everyone to now vote in person. Early vote or use Dropbox. Protect your health, but don't let the court and the deliberately crippled Postal Service deprive you of your most precious civil right. Plan your vote. I don't want to get partisan with it. Look, Eric, he's right. Go in person. Make sure your vote counts. You want to throw in the crippled post office stuff, fine. That's fine. But make sure your vote counts. Now, I want to show you some interesting data here. First, we got national polling average. We got early voting nationally. This is NBC News using Target Smart data. And then I'll show you, I really want to get into this. Postal voting could put America's Democrats at a disadvantage. Could? It is. And they show us this. This is from The Economist. Rejection rates for absentee ballots have fallen since 2016, but are higher for non-whites than whites. Well, check this out. First, we can see mail-in ballots requested is 77 million. And mail-in and early in-person ballots returned. So this is early plus mail-in. We can see 37% Republican, 45% Democrat, which should suggest Republicans are going to get a huge boost. We have not seen all the Republican ballots come in, which means this is the standard Democrat advantage we all expected. This should ring alarm bells for states where the parties are inverted. Like I just read to you, Democrats are expected to have the mail-in vote advantage. Right now, they do nationally. That makes sense. But in Wisconsin, they don't. Party registration requests 42% Republican, 36% Democrat with 22% unaffiliated. And the return rate for early in-person and mail-in is comparable. That's in-person and mail-in versus mail-in requests. So they're not the same numbers. The point is, Republicans are winning in Wisconsin when Democrats are supposed to have the advantage, but they are screaming in our face, Joe Biden has a 17-point lead over Trump in Wisconsin. What? Where COVID is surging and has ahead 7 points in Michigan in a new poll. He's ahead in Michigan. Look at this. Republicans with mail-in and in-person ballots are winning by 2 points. Look, I know early votes, it's going to change a whole lot. The point is, a projection is being made. You see, what we're supposed to see nationally, like we are, is a Democrat advantage because they requested more mail-in ballots. And we are seeing that. It makes sense to us. In Michigan and Wisconsin, Republicans are winning. Okay, Democrats supposed to have the advantage. They don't. That means, and this could be bad for Republicans, mind you, that means that come Election Day, there is going to be a massive surge of heavily Republican votes. So 538 says Election Day in person will be heavily Republican. And then he says that means some of the ballots that might come in after the fact, they're actually likely to lean Republican because Democrats have turned most of their ballots in already. Not most, but more Democrats have turned in their mail-in ballots than Republicans did. I think things are going to get particularly spicy. Now, to make sure I'm giving you the full picture, I don't want to pretend like these two states are the only states. In Pennsylvania, it is apocalyptic, something I've mentioned several times. Early voting in Pennsylvania by party registration request is 63% Democrat. Maybe people in PA do not want to vote by mail and they want to vote in person because they're worried. But I don't think it makes sense to see this massive of a swing for Democrats and not Republicans. And not only that, but when you include early in person, Republicans even lower. It doesn't look good for Donald Trump in that capacity, because I'll tell you this. There's no reason Republicans can't be voting in person early. Now, I will also mention there are various sources that tell us whether that will say like Democrats usually vote early more than Republicans or vice versa. And like I read an article, people got mad. Look, I'm telling you this right now. All I'm saying is I read 538. Maybe Nate Silver is wrong. Maybe I shouldn't trust the experts. Maybe they don't know what they're talking about. But the general idea, we were told, it was Democrats were railing, saying we got to get mail-in voting. And it was Trump saying, no, don't do it. Trump was telling people to vote in person. Fauci and Dr. Birx said it was safe to vote in person. Stands to reason the Republicans got no problem with voting in person. Stands to reason Democrats are worried, more so, won't be showing up in person and are more likely to vote by mail, in which case, key battleground states. Now, in Florida, it is exactly what you'd expect. It is a slight Democrat advantage. Pennsylvania is a really heavy Democrat advantage. So Republicans, you better cross your fingers that people are coming out in full swing. In Pennsylvania, we'll see how things play out. But let me show you what they're saying over The Economist. I love this. Right now, our model thinks Joe Biden is very likely to beat Donald Trump in the Electoral College. This is worse than 538. Check this out. Chance of winning the Electoral College, Joe Biden, better than 19 in 20 or 97%. Chance of winning the most votes, greater than 99%. Donald Trump, they say, has a 1 in 20 chance of winning, or 3%. That is brutal, man. Look, I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. I don't know. I really don't know who's going to win. In 2016, my gut was telling me that Trump would win. And I remember that you remember that viral video, Ann Coulter on Bill Maher, when he was asked of the Republican nominees who has the best chance to win. She goes, Donald Trump. They all laugh. And she's like, and she called it. Well, Donald Trump still did narrowly beat Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was despised by many, many people. And Joe Biden, not liked a whole lot by a lot of people, but let's be real, man. Bumbly, fumbly, creepy, sleepy Joe is less hateable than Hillary Clinton. And if that gets him a fraction of a percentage in certain key states, he's probably going to win. So maybe these polls are all right now. In my gut in 2016, I thought Trump was going to win. But in my head, I said, there's no way. Hillary Clinton, she's the establishment machine. Why would she lose? And then she did. It's like, wow, I guess the system does work. Today, we're expecting historical voter turnout. That may be what Democrats needed. According to Moody's Analytics before COVID, they said, based on things right now, with the economy going really well, Democrats will narrowly win if they get a historical voter turnout. Well, since COVID and the economy taking a hit, now they're saying, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, a bad economy is bad for Trump. Whether or not the American people blame Trump for it, I don't know if they will, because Trump still polls very, very well when it comes to the economy. And people do trust Trump more on the economy than Joe Biden. But maybe a bunch of people who don't know or care about the economy are going to start lighting up certain areas they weren't before. And more importantly, the COVID shift from all these people moving around early in the year will change things, and we don't know how. It's going to upend the map in ways we don't yet understand. But here's the meat and potatoes here. Check this out. Postal voting could put America's Democrats at a disadvantage. I know I've talked about this a lot, but now we're getting actual data, and it's serious. North Carolina, decrease in absentee ballot rejection rate, 2016 to 2020, by percentage points. The decrease, for the most part, is from white voters and other, which I guess includes Asians. And we can see that mostly it is poor people who have a smaller decrease, and Hispanics had the smallest decrease, meaning it's decreased for everybody. But the rejection rates are still very high, and that's a problem. They say, by the time COVID-19 took off in America, the presidential primaries were already wrapping up. However, some later voting states creaked under a historic load of postal ballots. In primary elections in June, 21% of absentee ballots in New York City were rejected, mainly for hiccups like missing signatures. Such a rate in the general election would put its legitimacy in doubt. The final impact of a surge in postal voting will not be known until weeks after the election. Yet North Carolina, a closely contested state, releases detailed data on ballots as they arrive. So far, its figures suggest that a tarnished election is unlikely, but that Democrats could be hurt by their disproportionate embrace of voting by mail. The Tar Heel state has received 8 times as many postal votes as it had by this point in 2016. Despite fears about first-time absentee voters botching their ballots, the share that are rejected has in fact fallen to 1.3 from 2.6 in 2016. This is probably due in part to campaigns educating supporters on voting by mail, and also to new efforts by the state to process such ballots. However, these gains have been concentrated among white and rich voters, causing North Carolina's already large racial gap in rejection rates to widen. In 2016, black voters sent in 10% of postal ballots, but 18% of discarded ones. This year, those shares are 17% and 42%. That hurts Democrats who rely on black voters' support. That's crazy. The black vote makes up 42% of ballots that are rejected. I'm not okay with that. Not at all. I blame Democrats for this. More people are going to have their ballots rejected. More people will be disenfranchised by the actions of the Democrats. It's a frustrating thing about everything they do is that they think they can control everything. And you can control some things, but in their efforts to increase the vote and help people, it's just backfired. And now they're actually hurting the black community and stripping away many of their votes. This data is actually really fascinating. Estimated share of votes lost due to ballot rejections. So I guess they're basing this off of North Carolina and then comparing it to other states. We can see that Republicans, for the most part, have their share of rejection rates going down while Democrats almost entirely are going up. Yeah. White Republicans, rejection rate goes down. Democrat rejection is skyrocketing. In fact, in Maryland, the estimation is huge, increasing 0.6%? That's massive. Partisan difference over voting by mail exacerbate this effect. In the past, Democrats and Republicans were equally likely to do so. But polling by YouGov now shows that 51% of likely Democratic voters plan to vote absentee, compared with 32% of Republicans. Extrapolating North Carolina's patterns nationwide, a model built by Merlin Heidemans of Columbia University finds that 0.7% of ballots intended for Joe Biden, the Democrats' nominee, will be rejected postal votes versus 0.3 for those cast by Donald Trump. Amazing. Donald Trump earns a half-point advantage, nearly a half point, in mail-in voting. Congratulations, Democrats. A half point can be significant when you realize in some key states, I think Michigan, Trump won by 0.2%. Well, congratulations. You just did half of your vote by mail and gave Donald Trump now a 0.25 advantage. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think Michigan was 0.02%, 0.02. And they just gave him a 0.2% advantage. That's huge. Congratulations. It's, it has been past several years of the Democrats constantly doing things that backfire on them and hurt them. Now, to be fair, because I try to be rational, the voter turnout for Democrats may surpass that 0.2 advantage, and maybe that's what they're counting on. But Republicans are voting in larger numbers, too. If both sides are coming to this with their full force, the rejection rates are a net detriment to Democrats. And I don't think we can tell if mail-in voting is going to be necessarily a net positive because of COVID, because of early voting. It's hard to tell. Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. Maybe Democrats are going to pull in an extra point or two by using mail-in voting. To be real with y'all, it's really easy to vote by mail. I pulled up, we looked, well, there are complications for sure, and there's a rejection rate, but I wonder how many people are like, it's so easy, I don't got to do anything. I can just fill it out, mail it off. It may backfire on them. I like the idea of making sure it's easier for everybody to vote. I like the idea of enfranchising as many people as possible. I like the idea of people voting and having their representative win, and sometimes we get bad representatives. But I don't like the idea of Democrats playing fast and loose with the rules of an election. And now we're going to be dealing with more than just this. The real issue I think we face is that there are going to be lawsuits across the board, and there already are. And the Supreme Court is ruling. The rules have been changed. This is as dirty as it gets. I'm not having a good time. We could have just done our election normally, like we always do. You see, like I mentioned this in an earlier segment, Republicans play by the rules, but they play hardball. Democrats just change the rules when they're losing. I want a standard set of rules, and I want the best person playing to win. So if the Republicans are like, here are the rules of the game, and we're going to win because we know how to play, well, that's the rules we all agreed to. You know, Hillary Clinton said Trump didn't legitimately win. No, it's not fair. Trump was playing by the same game, the same rules as you were. And Trump focused on certain states to win the Electoral College. Now, Trump supporters have said the only reason Trump lost the popular vote is because he was targeting Electoral College states. If the name of the game was win the popular vote, Trump would try to win the popular vote. But it's not. It's win the Electoral College to become president, in which case Trump is going for that. One of the things I think we risk, let me show you this. When we see mail-in ballots requested and mail-in and early in-person ballots returned, one of the interesting points is that California and New York and Illinois are going to be massive Democratic, they are massive Democratic strongholds. So we need to remove them from the equation and look at only the battleground states, planned state by state. So let's do this. Let's track by state, but let's take a look at something obvious like California. Looking at California, we can see that there is a heavy advantage of 55% for mail-in and in-person ballots returned. So when we're looking at a national advantage, we need to discount Republican states, Democrat states, and look at the battlegrounds. That's what's going to be important. Are the Republicans ahead? Well, I'm not going to do a big breakdown analysis for you because I don't have that pulled up. But that's the important point. A lot of people right now are looking at the national statistics, the national polling, and they're saying, great, but only the Electoral College matters. So I wonder, when we look at states like Wisconsin and Michigan, and we see that they're doing well, and I'll pull up Ohio, okay? I haven't checked the latest numbers on Ohio, but we'll see what's going on, and we'll see how things are going for the Republicans. These two states, at least, things are going really well. Take a look at this. Ohio is also showing a major advantage for Republicans. I'm not surprised the Rust Belt states are going for Trump. Trump's all about the economy and ending these free trade deals and bringing the factories back. Did he do a good job of it? I guess that's relative. I don't know what would have happened if he didn't. So he did a job and he did something and he brought factories back. So now we got Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio, Republican advantage. Pennsylvania, looking pretty apocalyptic, to be completely honest. I don't think, look, if the advantage right now in Pennsylvania is this high and even California is only 55% Republicans, y'all are in serious trouble. I know maybe people are saying the Republicans are going to come out in force on, we're only looking at so far 1.8 million ballots received. And so we got a lot of people in PA who have not voted yet. A lot of people. So we'll see. And maybe Trump will swing that state. But ultimately, everybody thinks they know, man. The forecasters all think they know. I think it's ridiculous. They don't know. One of the key things Trump really needs, though, is he needs Florida for sure. And it's not looking too great in Florida, but the advantage is only 5%. It can change, man. The advantage is only 5%. Mail-in and early ballots returned exceeds mail-in ballots requested. So it's going to be interesting. It absolutely will be something interesting. And we can do something else, too. Let's take a look at Minnesota. Over in Minnesota, as it loads, we can see that party registration right now, 47% Democrats for mail-in and early in-person ballots. It's an advantage for Democrats, but it's D plus 17. We expected to see that with just the mail-in votes, according to 538. I believe that was nationwide. I don't know what it should be for Minnesota, but if we find it comparable, then this is just where Democrats should be for the time being, but it also includes early in-person. I don't know who you expect to vote more, Republican or whatever. I'll just tell you this. I look at these key states, and it's early, to be fair, but it looks good for Republicans. Pennsylvania looks bad. Florida looks kind of good. In fact, in Miami, they're closing the gap. It's looking really, really good for Republicans, though they probably will still lose Miami, of course. The advantage is shrinking in Florida. The models all do one thing. Here's what they do. They take a look at the polls, and you might see Ohio as, 49% Biden and 48% Trump. So the model says that's going to go Biden. Therefore, we forecast as though Biden wins Ohio. But then the margin of error kicks in. Trump wins Ohio, and the forecasts are wrong. The forecast take all the states and they say Trump has a 3% chance to win. Maybe it's true. Maybe Trump really just has a 3% chance to win. Or maybe something has changed in how people consume information, where they moved to. I can only really tell you this. I think the polls are dead wrong. Dead wrong. I think they're wrong because COVID moved everybody around. The riots moved people around. Now we don't know who's voting where or what they believe. And they were wrong last time. Sorry. We're going to see how this plays out on election night. And look, I'll be real with you. I want Trump to win for a variety of reasons. Not that I think the guy is perfect. I kind of roll my eyes at a lot of things that Trump is and does. I don't want Joe Biden to win. He's a crony establishment player. If Joe Biden wins, I'm not going to play these stupid games the left plays. And I'll admit, I think it's a problem. The left bites, they kick, they scream, they temper tantrum for years when they lose. And moderates and Republicans are just going to be like, well, we lost. That's the game. What do you do when they're playing dirty and you keep playing fair? They claim the Republicans are playing dirty, and I think a lot of them do, but I'm not playing dirty. And I think the regular American people aren't either. And I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of the temper tantrums, but I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at youtube.com/TimCastNews at 6 p.m. So it's my other channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.